Hello there. I've just spotted that the new Irish Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar, is saying that the Northern Ireland Protocol is too strict, and that should worry us. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe, click the little bell, select all, and then like and comment below. Now, some may welcome this at face value, but where politics is concerned, there will almost always be some sort of quid pro quo sting in the tail that we may not discover for quite a while. Now, I read in the press that Leo Varadkar, who has once again taken the reins as the Taoiseach or Prime Minister of the Irish Republic, has come out and said that the Northern Ireland Protocol is too strict on the UK. And further, there's talk of some sort of compromise in the air, with Tory Brexiteer MP John Redwood tweeting, "Glad Ireland now admits they and the EU made mistakes with the Northern Ireland Protocol disrupting GB to Northern Ireland trade and damaging the UK Union. So will the EU now end its intransigence and drop the protocol?" Now, as I said, a lot of people will look at this and think that both Dublin and Brussels have seen sense, and now we can move forwards with easing the protocol restrictions. But announcements like this are not made in a vacuum. One side does not just come out waving an olive branch without there having been much jaw-jawing behind the scenes beforehand. And why the almost sudden change of tune from the protocol must be stringently applied to this more conciliatory talk. Now, I know this isn't the first time Varadkar has been saying such things. It was reported back in October when he was Deputy Taoiseach that checks on goods entering Northern Ireland from the rest of the UK were too strict. So it looks to me like preps were being made back then for when he became the Irish PM now, so he could be seen to be the reasonable one. Remember, the EU thinks it has the UK over a barrel here, and it also has one sleepy Joe Biden on their side, also doing his best to rend the UK asunder. So what is behind this change of tune? Could it be the threat of the unilateral action that the UK could take once the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill finally becomes law? Well, there's little chance of that happening within the year, because the bill is in the House of Lords right now, where those red bench polishers will do all they can to delay or derail it at every opportunity. Many of those peers appear to care more for the prosperity of the EU than they do for the country that pays them to snooze there of an afternoon. So my question is, what exactly has Rishi Sunak surrendered in order to get those words from Varadkar? Why has Varadkar suddenly come forward saying that Dublin will be flexible and reasonable when solving the problems of the too strict protocol? "I'm sure we've all made mistakes in the handling of Brexit," said Varadkar. "There was no roadmap, no manual. It wasn't something that we expected would happen, and we've all done our best to deal with it. Again, I look forward to travelling to Northern Ireland early in the new year, meeting with all the parties and reaching out to all the parties and communities in an effort to find a solution." And he went on to say that the protocol had worked without it being fully implemented, so there was room for more flexibility. Not exactly what anyone on the Brussels-Dublin side was saying a while ago, is it? Then, just to get my political radar on full alert, Varadkar went on to say, "And I know from speaking to the EU Commission President von der Leyen and the EU Brexit negotiator Maros Šefčovič, that's their position too. So we are willing to show flexibility and to make compromises. We do want there to be an agreement." So we appear to have gone from full-on you must build border posts across the Irish Sea and check every import into Northern Ireland from trees to pets to post, into the EU saying they want to be flexible. Since when did that happen? Since never, as far as I can remember. So what's changed? The Belfast Agreement is still the same, and so is the Withdrawal Agreement and the Protocol. Now, the EU never gives anything away if it can help it. Everything Brussels does is for the greater good, enrichment and ever closer union of the bloc, not for anyone else. So I would be suspicious of anything that seems to be a relaxing of anything where the EU is concerned, especially where their precious single market is concerned. How have they transposed so smoothly from the EU single market is sacrosanct and the protocol must be severely enforced to protect it, to this sudden new, almost laissez-faire sounding approach? What suddenly made them trust us? Takes a big political and philosophical leap of faith to do that. The real question to be asking: what is in it for the EU to have a softer line on the protocol and Brexit UK? Has the UK got an advantage there somewhere? Or has Rishi Sunak rolled over on something? The EU needs help bolstering its defences at the moment. Has the UK agreed to further involve itself in their Military Permanent Structured Cooperation, PESCO, on top of recently joining their PESCO mobility structure? Or has he decided that signing the UK up to a few single market rules on the QT will help his cause? Now remember that in the background the EU and UK are negotiating things like the protocol at ministerial level, led by Brexiteers. The Foreign Secretary James Cleverly and the Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris, together with the Northern Ireland Minister Steve Baker. But they have also been softening their stance and cooing about how well the talks are now going. And this comes after all the hard talk over the previous couple of years. Remember, the EU stated the protocol is not up for renegotiation. Or is this a way of the EU and UK working together to try and get the unionists around the table with Sinn Féin in Stormont, to get the power-sharing executive up and running again and push back the risk of unrest? But this is where the unionists have a clear advantage. They can continue to refuse to join Sinn Féin in Stormont while their demands to scrap the protocol are not met. And these soft words from the EU of keeping the protocol but being less strict may not now cut the mustard with the likes of the DUP, given how they've been treated, or more accurately ignored, in the past. At the end of the day, the dynamics have shifted, and it appears to be the EU making the first move towards a landing ground for agreement. But it will hinge on the DUP's response, and so far the mood music from them does not bode well for this. Asking if this was the same Varadkar who said no to negotiations. So I do have to wonder whether they will end up looking at this and being very wary that if they do agree to something less than what they demand, that it will turn around and bite them in the future. Personally, it would take a lot for me to trust Brussels and Dublin after the way they've weaponised the protocol and endangered the peace in Northern Ireland up until now. But hopefully I'm wrong. But we need to see something more concrete than a few EU warm words. And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.